What do you have to say? My heart cries out because everything you have said, I have seen happening while with my own eyes. Ever since I came into Islam, it has affected me. So from personal experience as well, that I have stopped practicing Islam the way I did when I first started, and still now my heart is not in it. I see the Muslims abundant, and I feel like we're walking away, but I don't know if the path I walk away to will be correct. I don't want to leave Islam. What can I do? First of all, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give this person the sabat and al-Islam, and we all should continuously ask our Lord to give us sabat, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to us in an authentic hadith, إِنَّ قُلُوبَ الْعِبَادِ بَيْنَ أُصْبِعَيِ الرَّحْمَنِ يُقَلِّبُهَا كَيْفَ يَشَاءُ. Verily the hearts of the servants, all of us, are between the two fingers of Ar-Rahman, because Ar-Rahman has two fingers. He changes them however He chooses. So that's why Al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, one of the dua that he used to make when he used to make sajda was, Allahumma ya muqallibul qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. Oh Allah, the turn of the heart, establish my heart on the deen. Muslim today, kafir tomorrow. You all know the hadith of Mas'ud ibn Abdullah bin Mas'ud, Inna ahadukum yujma'u khalqahu fi batni ummihi 40 layla. Verily one of you people, your creation is brought in the stomach of his mother 40 days. And then the whole hadith, and then at the end, the Prophet said, verily one of you will do the deeds of a man from paradise, and then what is written on him overtakes him, and then he becomes an armed fan from the paradise. Then it overtakes him, and he starts doing the deeds of the people of the hellfire, and he enters in there, and vice versa. So we all should ask Allah for the sabat for this person and from ourselves. As for the advice that we give to this person who seems to be a sister, we would advise the person to get some companions who are firmly established on al-Islam, people who when you are around them, they remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, people who when you are around them, they help you to be a better Muslim, people who are balanced and have sense in al-Islam. They don't make things too difficult upon the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're serious about al-Islam. Because as we said, الطيور على أشكالها تقع. Birds of a feather flock together. Be with those sisters who are going to strengthen you and your iman. And never forget that the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forever present with this Qur'an. And compare your problems with the problems of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as he ordered us to do when we are faced with trials and tribulations. He grew up as an orphan. He lost his wife. He lost his children. His companions were killed. He was thrown out of Mecca. The people made jihad against him. His own people called him a liar, a magician, a poet. And on and on and on. Compare his situation to your situation, and it should do nothing but give you more iman and more strength. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help that sister or the writer of the question by giving them the yaqeen in this life and entering them into Jannah. What do you say to someone who is harsh to his wife, good to the brothers, and says, that's how I have always been in Jahiliyyah? We say, listen to the talk that we just gave. Inshallah, it should be enough for the person. There are people There are people who want to take part of al-Islam and leave other parts of al-Islam, like jihad. What do you say about the people who want to leave al-jihad and want to focus upon other aspects of al-Islam that may be of a lesser degree? Concerning al-jihad fi sabilillah, anyone who reads this Qur'an, he cannot reject or deny the fact that al-jihad is extremely important. How can he deny that? How can a Muslim read the Qur'an when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Qur'an, وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ وَيَكُنَ الدِّينُ كُلُّهُ لِلَّهِ? How can you read that ayah? How can you reject jihad when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Qur'an, وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ وَمِن رِبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ تُرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَّ اللَّهِ وَعَدُوَّكُمْ? How can you reject that? How can you reject al-jihad, ya Abdullah, ya akhi? How? When you read where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Qur'an, يا أيها الذين آمنوا ما لكم إذا قيل لكم انفروا في سبيل الله ثاقلتم من الأرض أرضيتم بالحياة الدنيا من الآخرة فما متاع الحياة الدنيا في الآخرة إلا قليل إن لن تنفروا يعذبكم عذابا أليما ويستبدل قوم غيركم ولن تضروه شيئا. How can a person read this Qur'an when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Qur'an, subhanallah, قُلْ إِنْ كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَإِخْوَانَكُمْ وَأَزْوَاجُكُمْ وَعَشِيرَتُكُمْ وَأَمْوَالَ اقْتَرَفْتُمُوهَا وَتِجَارَةٌ تَخْشَوْنَ كَسَادَهَا وَمَسَاكِنُ تَرْضَوْنَهَا أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَجِهَادٍ فِي سَبِيلِهِ فَتَرَبَّصُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ. How can you read the Qur'an and say jihad is not important? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. How, ikhwan, can you read the Qur'an after memorizing Surah Al-Saf, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in this surah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, hal adullukum ala tijaratin tunjikum min adabin alim. تؤمنون بالله ورسوله وتجاهدون في سبيل الله بأموالكم وأنفسكم ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون يغفر لكم ذنوبكم ويدخلكم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار. كيف هذا؟ لا يقرأ القرآن يا أخي ويترك الجهاد. آيات upon ayat. The Prophet ﷺ told us in the authentic hadith by Imam al-Tirmidhi, إذا تبايعتم بالعينة ورضيتم بالزرع وأخذتم أذناب البقر وتركتم الجهاد في سبيل الله سلط الله عليكم ظلا لن ينزعه حتى ترجعوا إلى دينكم. No one is reading this Qur'an properly and rejecting the importance of jihad. رأس الأمر الإسلام وعموده الصلاة وذرة السلام هي الجهاد في سبيل الله, as the Prophet told Mu'adh bin Jabal. So I don't think that the question is we should not recognize jihad as being important. The ulama of al-Islam said that jihad was the sixth pillar of al-Islam. The sixth pillar of al-Islam is jihad. But unfortunately, many of the people, especially the shabab, one of the characteristics of youth is that in almost any society, the youth are going to be angry. They're going to have this anger about how things are. Without al-Islam, the youth of Britain, the youth of America, the youth of the West, they're angry. They see no hope outside of al-Islam. So all they need is a demagogue like Louis Farrakhan. All they need is someone to come along and manipulate their anger and their helplessness and take the shabab and lead them to their slaughter like a bunch of sheep. There's no difference, ikhwan, in al-Islam. From times gone by up until now, we have manipulators, mustaghilloon. Many of these jama'at, wallahi. You come into al-Islam after reading about al-Islam. And you come into al-Islam not to be somebody else's flunky, not an Arab flunky, not a Pakistani flunky. You come into Islam to practice Islam to get close to Allah. But then you find all of these programs and agendas put into effect. How can you allow yourself, akhi, to get a ring put around your nose and to be dragged to the slaughter? Whichever jamaat you want to be a part of. How? What are you wasting your time for? Islam is total and complete. Islam is clear. One of the descriptions of it is clear. Clear. So we shouldn't allow ourselves to go off the middle course in any affair. Let us take all of al-Islam and let us look at our situation first. And we have to say to ourselves, me, Abu Usamah, how much knowledge do I have about the basics of al-Islam? So what nerve do I have to stand out in front of the people and I'm ignorant? Wallahi, I'm ignorant. And there are those who are more ignorant than me. And you're going to have the nerve to come to a brother who Allah has blessed with halfway decent intelligence and tell him, come with me, akhi, come with me. And I don't know what I'm talking about. So it's like the blind leading the blind in a dark room. But when it becomes clear to us that it's this or it's that, then hold on to your mollahs and go with it, irregardless of what people say. When it becomes clear to us based upon proof, not based upon desire. Not based upon desire. So my advice is, just like the man said, I'm not going to Saudi Arabia, to the Kaaba to make Hajj because of the oppressors, you also don't reject al-jihad fi sabilillah because you don't agree with that mentality. That's going overboard. Now, Usamah.
What do you do in a situation where you bump into the brothers in fact, and when you meet the brothers, you're trying your best to create a fitna that's going to cause by meeting them, but every time you do meet them, there's fitna. What do you do in this situation?
The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, al-arwah junudun mujannada. The souls of the people are trained soldiers. They're like trained soldiers. Those of them that get along together, get along well, they'll come together. They'll meet and you'll say subhanallah as if I knew you for a long time. You hook up with your wife and she practically knows what you're thinking before you even say it. So she gets up and she cooks that thing for you. And blessed is he. Well, that's his situation. And then there's the other hand. There's the other hand. Where you come together, every time you look at him, he looks at you as if you're an enemy to him. He looks at you as if he hates you, as if you've stepped on his toes. And he needs to ask himself to soften his heart. Why are you looking at your brother like that? Ya akhi, I mean, what did he say to you in his lesson to cause you to look with a stone face? Why? Astaghfirullah. Hey, Ikhwan, leave this nafs. The nafs is a qatila. It's going to kill you, put you in the hellfire. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. The believers are brothers. If the brother made a mistake, subhanallah, he said a long time ago, akhi, any questions? Explain the situation. Put the brother on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. As for looking there, sitting there for an hour and a half. Allah yahdi, Allah guide you and us. So those souls that when they come together, tanakarat, they just fight, conflict. This is your situation, akhi, with a person and it's possible to ta'id and who stay away from him so that you won't get into any further fitna. And with that, we'll only do
the questions can be related to the topic, inshallah.
Now they can ask what they want to ask about. We went to Luton the other day. And in Luton there are a group of people who are calling these brand new young brothers to so many things. Luton. I don't know if you brothers know the fiqh al-waqi', but Luton, there's a lot of problems in Luton. There's a major Arab brother in Luton, and they come to the young brothers, akhi, subhanallah. Like the sister said, when we came to Islam, I used to feel my iman was real high being with my brothers, vibing, reading the Qur'an. Wallahi, I used to work at a place, when I became a Muslim, it was a place that was bad for you because this asbestos was getting in our chests. I used to come home dirty and tired, take a shower, sit at the kitchen table in my mother's house and read Yusuf Ali and cry. That was at the beginning of Islam. Yusuf Ali, reading the stuff at the bottom too, crying. That's how our Islam was. Now you come into Islam and these people giving us all these problems. Yaqi, leave Islam simple for us, let us be brothers. Don't bring us the politics of the Arabs and the non-Arabs. We want to know Islam. We want to take Islam and make a point with it. Change our parents' condition, the condition of the people we went to school with. So we went to Luton. With who? We went to Luton with Ali Hassan al-Halabi. This name again, when people hear it, they get this thing inside of them. Ali Hassan al-Halabi. Is it his lihya, his blood, his body, his soul that we like so much? Nah. It's the knowledge that the man carries. And he's more than qualified to deal with the people in Luton. So we called the people and we said, look, we have a champion coming to deal with the situation. Stop messing with the young brothers, the new brothers. Here's someone who can deal with the situation. I came to the country that day. Opportunity I can't miss. So I told the Sheikh, Wallahi, it's an honor for me to go and translate for you. Walakin Sheikh, Wallahi, Watallahi, Wabillahi, Inna al-Qawm la-Jubana. They're cowards and they're not going to come. They're not going to come. Wallahi, fiqh al-waqi'. They said we don't understand the fiqh al-waqi'. Wallahi, I called it. I told them they're not going to come, Sheikh. We went down there and the brothers told them a week, Ali Hassan, coming, bring your cannon. When we get there, none of them show up. And that's how it is, huh? That's how it is. Anytime someone can have the ability to deal with it, they don't come. My young brother, subhanAllah, my wife only being a Muslim 2 years, 3 years, you're going to come to my wife and start giving her all these shubahat. Let her fear Allah. The brother get close to Allah. You got him going to sleep. Instead of saying, subhanAllah, 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 he's saying, Margaret Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher, Al-Khilafa, Al-Khilafa, Al-Khilafa. Naam, all of that is from Al-Islam. But subhanAllah, let my brothers learn the Qur'an. Let my brothers learn the Qur'an. And some people may want to think, I want to bring a watered down version of Al-Islam. Alhamdulillah, the brothers who know me, alhamdulillah, they know that if you wanted to go back to Jahiliyyah and deal with me like that, and we ask Allah al-afiyah, we don't want to do that, they know that's not how we are. But Islam is clear, Ya Abdullah. So you can ask the questions that you want to ask, inshallah, but the brother said it's only 2 more questions.
One from Daw, inshallah, then one from Usamah, then breakfast salah, inshallah.
Nah, he went already, Akhi. Malish, Ya Daw, Malish. But I see you all the time. I see you all the time. If there was other brothers who didn't get the opportunity other than Dawood, they should be able to do so. You agree with me, Dawood? You agree with me, Dawood? Right, go ahead.
What advice would you give to somebody who believes in Islam but they refrain from taking the shahada because they feel that they have evil thoughts in the mind and they want to clear it?
That's from the wiswas of a shaitan. No one knows for sure when they're going to die, so therefore they should try to accept Islam as quick as possible. The person who's dealing with that person should just continuously badger them and be after them until hopefully finally they'll accept Islam.
Okay, we're going to class it with the quality of inshallah. But inshallah we can carry on after the salah, but there's a few more questions inshallah.
Okay, after the salah though, you can get your question back again inshallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد. And resuming the talk or answering the questions, I don't know, what should we talk about? Or what should we make a comment about? Should we make a comment about the importance of reciting the Qur'an and crying in Salat, and how this was something that the Prophet ﷺ was on and his companions, and how we don't have it? How unfortunately when we do hear someone crying in the Salat, it becomes a thing where it's strange. How when we try to do it ourselves, there's no effect, even though the Prophet ﷺ ordered us to try to cry, even if you're not really crying, try to cry. It's just a real clear indication of how much work we really need to make, and how we are really losing the point in all of these arguments and discussions. Or do we talk about the oppression that's taking place against the Ama of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the handmaidens of Allah, our wives and our sisters? After coming to Britain, I see unfortunately that a lot of the oppression that takes place towards the sisters in Islam in America, as well as in the Muslim world in general, it happens here as well, where we have sisters who were born on Islam to Muslim parents. They left Islam by listening to music and even having sex in some situations. They became lewd women dressing like go-go girls. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them to put them back on the hidayah, and then the parents throw them out or they begin to have problems. Brothers marrying these sisters, and when the brother brings his wife to the house, the brother wants to put the proper hijab over his wife so that his brothers can't see his wife in a way that's not befitting or allowable, and the parents getting upset over that and just giving them a lot of grief. Do we talk about that? Or do we talk about how a lot has been said today and we don't really know whether or not we're going to leave this place of the people who have been given the tawfiq to work upon that which we have heard? The things of Al-Islam are so many. As the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has told us when he said, مَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِهِ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ وَمَا نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. What I've ordered you people to do as much of it as you possibly can. And what I prevented you from doing, leave it all alone. Because there's so many things to do, no one is going to be able to do everything. So the advice is always, especially for the shabab, and we're all shabab, to not be of the people who are mutahammis without knowledge. Very emotional and very agitated with no knowledge. Agitation has its place in Al-Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet in the Qur'an, Ya ayyuhan nabi, harrad al-mu'minina ala al-qital. O Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Or do we talk about how stingy the Muslims are when they hear the Prophet's name, they don't say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Do we talk about that? Allah said in the Qur'an, agitate the believers for the fight. So this agitation is from Al-Islam. When the Prophet used to give sallallahu alayhi wa sallam his khutbah, his voice used to raise up and his eyes used to bulge out as if he was warning the people of a pending army. But the agitation has to be the type of agitation that's coupled with al-ilm al-nafi', knowledge, real knowledge, so that we can get some reward out of the agitation. A brother asked me a question, and I told him we would deal with that question first, and he was asking concerning loving your brother. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those people who love one another for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Because as you all know, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us, سَبَعَةٌ يُذِلُّهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظِلِّهِ يَوْمَ لَا ظِلَّ إِلَّا ظِلُّهُ. There will be 7 people who Allah will shade in His shade on the day that there will be no shade. From the people that He mentioned, رَجُلَانْ تَحَبَّا فِي اللَّهِ اجتمعا عليه وتفرقا عليه. 2 men who loved one another for Allah only. They came together on that love and they parted on that love. So when the human beings are standing there, Yawm al-Qiyamah, some in sweat up into their knees, to their ankles, to their hips, some to their necks, some totally submerged in water and sweat because of the close proximity of the sun and their deeds. 2 of the people who will get this shade will be those 2 people. Walaikum salam to Allah. Those 2 people who love one another in Allah and for Allah alone. He asked me, what do you advise for me in terms of loving this person? Because you can love a person so much that that love goes out of bounds. You know, and then one day when it comes that you may be forced to hate him or something of this effect. First of all, Ikhwan, we draw your attention to the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam when he said, لو كنت متخذا خليلا لاتخذت أبا بكر خليلا ولكن أخي وصاحبي. He said, if I was to take a khalil, I would have taken Abu Bakr as my khalil. But Abu Bakr is my brother and my companion. Many of the ulama have explained to us, and this shows us the importance of the Arabic language, because it helps you to come to the understandings that are proper, right, and exact. They say that the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam didn't take Abu Bakr as a khalil is because this word khalil is the person who your heart totally is submerged in the love for that person. That person's, the love that you have for him, it is totally in your heart and it's only for that person. So the Prophet ﷺ doesn't love anyone like that except who? Rabbil Alameen. So Abu Bakr therefore is his akh and his companion. Also concerning this love, the Prophet told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, do not love your friend the total love, because it may be that one day he may become your enemy. And do not hate your enemy, the total hate, because it may come one day that he may become your friend. This again is one of those texts from the Qur'an that show us the importance of staying balanced in our affairs, all of them. This is one of those clear texts that is telling us to stay balanced in our affairs, all of them, so that we do not compromise in our deen. When we read the Qur'an from Surah Al-Fatiha all the way to Surah Al-Nas, the message of Al-Wasatiyah comes across crystal clear. Guide us to the straight path, not the ones who you're angry with and not the ones who go astray, the Jews and the Christians, in the middle course. And in terms of this love, let us make it clear, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Qaf, when He said, يَوْمَ نَقُولُ لِجَهَنَّمْ هَلْ امْتَلَأْتِ وَتَقُولُ هَلْ مِن مَزِيدٍ. The day that we say to the hellfire, are you filled up to your capacity? And she will reply by saying, do you have any more? If you have any more of those human beings, there's some more room for them. One of the things that we benefit from this ayat is that, as you all know, this hellfire, like everything else, is a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And she has an ardent desire to fear Allah and to worship Allah, even at the expense of hurting other people. If her loving Allah and obeying Allah entails that she has to hurt other people, she does it willingly and happily. Just like jihad. To kill kuffar with the proper jihad is harmful and it's a hurt to the kuffar. But the believer is a person who's willing to do that, just like the hellfire. Unlike the people of today, the Muslims, who compromise their religion. We work at jobs that don't allow us to pray, that don't allow us to make salah, that don't allow us to go to Jummah. So the Muslim, he works at the job for 15, 20, 30 years. After 5 pulled muscles, 3 slit discs, he retires and they give him a gold-plated watermelon and he retires. And he missed salah all of his life. They tell him, you can't come here with a beard, you can't come here dressed like this, and he compromises his Islam. Or the sister comes to Al-Islam, whether she's an Asian sister, she comes on the Qur'an and the Sunnah, or she was a Catholic, she came to Al-Islam. And her parents and her relatives are hard on her. She doesn't care. She doesn't compromise her Islam for anybody. We have, unfortunately, people who come into Islam and they have a partner still in Jahiliyyah. And they refuse to come into Islam, as the brother said, because they don't want to hurt the feelings of their partner who's in Jahiliyyah. La, ma hakada ya Abdullah. The Muslim is the one who wants to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So that love should be defined by the dictates of Al-Islam. And in talking about that love, Ikhwan, before taking this next question, let me just say, when we read the Qur'an and the Sunnah, we find that the message that Allah deals with the most in the Qur'an, of course, is the message of Al-Aqidah and Al-Tawheed. After that, in terms of issues, the issue that is dealt with the most after that is the issue of Al-Wala wal-Bara. Allegiance to the believers and hatred and enmity towards the disbelievers. Or Al-Bara, hatred and enmity towards the people according to their level of Islam. If a person is far away from what real Islam is, but he's still a Muslim, we love him more than we love the Kafir. But we don't love him like the person who was trying to practice Islam the way Islam was brought, as understood by the companions. That love has more right to be given to the ulama of Islam. If I've been ordered to give love to you brothers and allegiance to you brothers, and we're regular brothers, for lack of a better term, every Muslim is important. And every Muslim, inshallah, is mahboob ladayna. But for lack of a better term, we're regular brothers. The ulama of Islam have more right for our wala. If you want a measurement, a Richter scale, where you can judge a person's deviance and his works and in Islam being away, just listen to what he's saying about the scholars of Islam, past and present. You don't have to look far. Just listen what he says. And again, make it clear. It's not the lihya of the scholar, or the blood of the scholar,
or the soul of the scholar, or where he comes from, but what it is the knowledge of the scholar. The Anbiya do not leave dirham, they do not leave any type of money, but they leave knowledge. And the ones who have taken that knowledge have taken a great portion. And the ones who took it were the ulama. So they are the warathatul Anbiya. So now, Ya Abdullah, you were just born yesterday in Islam, and you still don't know Ayatul Kursi, and you still don't know Dua Salatul Istikhara, and you still haven't mastered the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha. You know nothing about Al-Islam. And when I say you haven't recited, we say even in that is good. As the Prophet ﷺ said, الذي يقرأ القرآن وهو ماهر به مع السفرة الكرام البررة والذي يقرأ القرآن وهو يتتعثر فيه وهو عليه شاق فله أجران. Whoever reads the Qur'an, he's a master, an expert in reading it, he will be with the angels Yawm al-Qiyamah. The one who reads it and he stutters because he can't read it properly and it's difficult upon him, he will get a double reward. So it's good. But what we're saying is, look at yourself, Ya Abdullah. You know nothing about Al-Islam and you have the nerve to start talking about the scholars of Al-Islam. They have this saying in Arabic. They say, إن أردت أن تعرف فبل في الزمزم. If you want to become well known, piss in the Zamzam well. No one knows you. All you have to do is go to Mecca, urinate in the Zamzam well, and when you walk through the streets of Mecca, everyone will say, oh, that's the brother who urinated in the Zamzam well. That's the brother who wants to talk about the scholar so-and-so. He was nobody yesterday. He was nobody, no one. But after he tried to urinate on the dawah, or he tried to urinate on the scholar, the people know him as the one who tried to unveil this thing or that thing. So Ikhwan always saying to you brothers is, the job is big, the bodies are few, the people who are going to do the job are few. And the sarat, the tariq is far, the darb is tough, it's very, very far. And the ways to go off are many. ماذا أنتم فاعلون? What are you people going to do? What are you young brothers are going to do? We have all this youth, all this power, alhamdulillah, all of this intellect, all of these resources. Can you imagine if the Prophet ﷺ started off the dawah with what we have here in terms of our money and our resources? So we say to you brothers, let us get back focused to do the right thing. So in answering the question, Akhi, it's all about being balanced in our love, in our hate, in our ibadah, in all of our affairs. How do you stick to the sunnah through the period of relaxation after enthusiasm? Ali Hassan al-Halabi wrote a book called 40 Hadith of the Dua, the callers and the call, and he brings this hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said that every single deed has a time of activity and every single deed has a time of inactivity, relaxation. So whoever time of inactivity is according to my sunnah as guided and on the right course. Basically, what the meaning of the hadith is saying is that the believer is a person who his iman is up and it down. It goes down. It goes up according to his ta'ah or fearing Allah and worshiping Allah and being obedient to Allah, and it goes down accordingly when he gets away from obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the brother who comes to the masjid and he memorizes 3 or 4 ayat every morning after Salat al-Fajr, you find him leaving the masjid and his iman is up and he's feeling good. And after he finally memorized the surah that he was trying to memorize, his iman goes up even more. And on, and all of the deeds are like that. Then there comes that time when he doesn't want to memorize, when he doesn't want to do any nafil, when he doesn't want to do anything except what's wajib upon him. At that time, the brother is ordered and encouraged by this hadith to just remain on al-Islam and not to leave his religion. And not to come up with these crazy interpretations that come from the talbis of Iblis. As Abu Farj, Abdul Rahman ibn al-Jawzi, has talked about this in his book Talbis Iblis. Where the person, because of his low iman, he decides not to do anything. La ma hakada. But what you do is, even at that time of relaxation, you still try to do what Islam has made wajib upon you, and wait for the time of the activity to come back around, keeping in mind that you have to be in a continuous effort to speed up that time, that you try to make that time come on your own. The brother gave me a question. He said, if a person is in possession of a hat at the time of salah, yet he refuses to wear it because it is bid'ah or is not important, what do you advise the brother? Concerning the wearing of a hat at the time of salah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us in the authentic hadith, as in Abu Dawood, إِنَّ اللَّهَ أَحَقُّ أَن يُتَزَيَّنَ لَهُ. Verily Allah has more right that you beautify yourselves for Him. Allah has more right that you beautify yourselves for Him. There was a time when the Muslim, if he went with his head uncovered, exposed, this was a ta'an in his muru'ah. I see some of the Arab brothers who are here. Their grandfathers and great-grandfathers, even if they weren't ulama and didn't have a lot of knowledge, but their fitra was salima, especially in the Arab countries where their istimar, that colonization wasn't that much. You'll find that there were people who didn't come out with their heads exposed, but now the situation has changed. So back then, this hadith could have been used as a proof that a man should cover his head because of the urf of the people. That good dress is a man coming with his head covered and on and on and on. So Allah has more right that you dress like that. But today, the urf of the people is not like that. You can argue that's good or bad, but the point is, for someone to say that you have to cover your head up for salah, and this is a good thing in Islam or not a good thing, he will have to bring the proof, and I know no proof whatsoever that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you had to cover your head in the salah. If you didn't, you were asking, you were sinning. As for the people who want to use as a proof that you can expose your head, that the Prophet took off his turban and threw it in front of him to make a sutra, this is not an authentic hadith. But we have to encourage the brothers to hold on to their Islamic identity as much as possible. As much as possible. And if you're not going to wear a thobe, which we don't believe is wajib, then when you become mutabansal, if you want to be Abu Bansalon, we don't say that that's haram. Tatabansal ya Abdullah, malish. But don't be musbil. Don't have your, pants below your ankle bone. Haram, haram. Don't say hadith Abu Bakr. Haram. Don't wear the bantalon where the contours of your body is being exposed. Or when you make sajda, parts of your aura become exposed from the back. Even the bantalon should be wide. And when we look at our Muslim brothers all over the world, in Turkey, they wear pantalons, but the Islamic version. In Africa, they wear pantalons, but the Islamic version. So all the time, ikhwan, as Ibn Taymiyyah wrote in his book, اقتضاء صراط المستقيم في مخالفة أصحاب الجحيم, being different from those kuffar, he wrote a nice piece about how the maghlub will always follow the ghalib. The one who is down, the victor comes. The victor, he comes and he puts someone down. When he gets off of him, this one who is defeated will always follow the victor. He will always follow him. So now, unfortunately, here in this country, we have freedom of expression, freedom of religion. Knowing that they come and they try to make problems, غير مباشر. They don't do like they do in some of the Muslim countries, or almost all of the Muslim countries, where you can't come with this type of sitting at all. So here we can express ourselves. The other day I saw a debate between two homosexuals who were debating the right that they had to get married and have that marriage recognized by the state. And they sat at the panel and they talked a lot of rhetoric. They were very educated and they had quwwat shakhsiyatum. They were really, their personalities were strong. If that man has the nerve to try to push for that, why doesn't the Muslim also have enough iman to say, I have more right? So I know of no hadith whatsoever that says that the brother has to wear or cover his head.
Question from the floor, inshallah.
My deen and my husband's deen is suffering badly because other Muslims' laziness. My husband wants to go to Saudi to gain knowledge. I want him to go. What does he do and who does he contact? And please again express about Fajr and leaving till after sunset, sunrise. Concerning the issue of their deen being affected by other people, we always remind the brothers and the sisters not to be of the people who always want to point fingers at other people, but we encourage the people to look at themselves, because this is the way of the mu'min. He is critical of himself. And he doesn't blame the West, he doesn't blame the white man, he doesn't blame other people, he doesn't blame democracy, he doesn't blame, even though that may have a part in the problem. But the Muslim blames himself. The Ummah of Muhammad should blame itself, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَمَا أَصَابَتْكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ إِلَّا إِيش؟ إِلَّا مَا اكْتَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُم. No fitna, no musibah, no catastrophe befalls you except from what your hands have received, what you put forth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, as we said before, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا عَلَيْكُمْ أَنفُسَكُمْ لَا يُضُرُّكُمْ مَنْ ضَلُّوا إِذَا اهْتَدَيْتُمْ. Oh, you who believe, you're responsible for your own soul. It doesn't harm you, those who go astray, if you got it alright. If those people are lazy, you don't be lazy. What are you talking about? They lazy, so I'm getting affected. But it may be that the person comes into al-Islam and they're looking at their brothers and their sisters hoping for some nutrition, some food. Teach me, help me. And because of our laziness, because of this confusion, we prevent the person from getting any benefit. This is possible. If this is the case, ikhwan, know that these people have rights over you, connected to your necks. We have to give them their rights. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help this community. As for going to Saudi Arabia to study, the sister needs to get in touch with Sheikh Ibrahim. He could explain all of that situation. He could explain that situation to her. Huh? No, what's up? What up? I was asked by a friend who was a non-Muslim but believes in Islam, where was the first person placed in this world, i.e. which country? Also, Adam and Eve were the first people on earth. Did their children marry each other? Concerning where were the first people placed at, there's no authentic hadith coming to us telling us where the first people were. And for the Muslim to go after these questions, he runs the risk of going astray. Those are the issues that we have been encouraged not to look after, and not to go after, and not to waste a lot of time about. Your knowledge of it does not, your ignorance of it does not harm you in one bit, inshaAllah ta'ala. And this is one of the clear stories that we get from the story of the people of the cave in Surah Al-Kahf. When they said there were 4 people, the dog made 5. There were 5 people, the dog made 6. There were 6 people, the dog made 7. And they were just, making, guessing about the unseen. Whether he was 4, 5, 6, or 7, it doesn't make a difference. The point is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ability to give you life and death. The important thing is that if you believe in al-Islam, you're going to be persecuted, that you may have to make hijrah. Hijrah was something that was during the time of the people of the past, like it is today, like it's going to be tomorrow, inshallah. The important thing is, as long as you hold on to al-Islam, you are from the family of the mustaqim. Those are the issues that we benefit. As for sitting there worrying about, like these people ask you, what are the first four things that are going to be in the paradise? The staff of Musa, the bird, the hudhud bird of Sulaiman, the ant with Sulaiman. That's what are you wasting my time for? Why would the hudhud bird be in paradise? I mean, what are you wasting our time for? So we don't go after these types of questions as Muslims. As for Adam and Hawa, our mother and our father, radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma wa alayhim as-salatu was-salam, their children marrying one another. I've read in Ibn Kathir and in other places that they were allowed to marry one another. The tafsir of the ayah in Surah Ali Imran, or Surah Ma'idah, when Adam's son slayed his brother. Ibn Kathir explains that they were allowed to marry. The reason why Cain killed Abel was because every time Eve gave birth to a child, she carried twins. And in their legislation and in their sharia, it was permissible for them to marry their brothers and sisters, but you can only marry the one who wasn't from your same womb, the one who shared the womb of the other one. Meaning, Cain marries Abel's sister who was in the womb with him, and vice versa. I don't remember the authenticity of the hadith. It seems to be authentic. I kind of lean towards that. But because this is our aqidah, we're going to leave that off for some further investigation. If anyone comes up with that, they can explain it to the brother.
Any questions from the floor, inshallah?
I heard a bit earlier, about speaking over the Quran. It's like, there's been a few occasions where it seems that all of a sudden the attitude that if I'm not speaking too loud while the Quran has been playing on the audio, not so much on brothers are reading it themselves, but especially on tape, I'm talking to some people below, it's okay, and it's right, it's alright. And I'm not too 100% sure. I say that in the Quran is that you shouldn't speak over the Quran. It's that you're in the deep and it's like,
concerning the Quran and speaking while it's being played, the question is, can you talk while the Quran is being played? While you're hearing the Quran being read or being played? In the hadith, the man who made a lot of mistakes in his salat when he came and he prayed real fast, 3 times the Prophet ﷺ told him, go back and pray again if you haven't prayed. This is a very important hadith in terms of telling us what's wajib in the salat and what's not wajib. It's a very important hadith in terms of the fiqh of salat. Anyway, the Prophet ﷺ said in this hadith and in other hadith, he said, إذا قمت إلى الصلاة فاغسل الوضوء ثم استقبل القبلة ثم كبر الله ثم اقرأ ما تيسر لك من القرآن. No, this is not the one. The other hadith where the Prophet ﷺ told the Muslims, إنما جُئِلَ الإمام إذا أمن الإمام فأمنوا فإنما. No, that's not the one either. Now, that's the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith to the believers in telling us how to pray, إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا الْوُضُوءَ وَإِذَا قَرَأَ الْإِمَامُ فَانصِتُوا. If you stand up for the salah, make the good wudu as Allah ordered in the Qur'an. كَمَا أَمْرَكُمُ اللَّهُ فِي الْقُرْآنِ. That's what he said. And then if the imam recites, then be quiet. He ordered us to be quiet. Also the Qur'an is said in the Qur'an, وَإِذَا قُرِيَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ. If the Qur'an is read, then be quiet. But when you are in the place where the Qur'an is being played, you're not forced to sit down and listen to the Qur'an. And you're not forced to be quiet as such because the Qur'an is being played. But if you can respect the Qur'an by being away and carrying on your business, this is permissible. The son of Abu Dawood, his name is Abdullah ibn Abi Dawood. He has a book called Al-Masahif. Everything you need to know about the Qur'an. Everything you need about, can you sell it? What happens when it gets messed up? Should you bury it? Should you burn it? everything concerning the Qur'an. Should it be put on the floor? And on and on and on. Can you read it in Ramadan? And on and on and on. He has a chapter in there about, can you talk while the Qur'an is being played? And he brings some athar, some examples of the Sahabas as well as the Tabi'een in which this issue was discussed and it was allowed to be done by them. Jazakallahu khaira, Brother Abu Usamah, for your intriguing and very beneficial talk. What I would like to know is, what I would like to know is, during your talk you mentioned that cutting the beard is among the major sins. Could you please give reference and proof for your statement? There are many proofs to show that cutting the beard or shaving the beard is from the major sins. Many proofs. First of all, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, لعن الله الواصلة والمستوصلة والوامشة والمستوشمة والمتنمسات المغيرات لخلق الله. Allah has cursed the wasila, the woman who puts hair on her head, or the one who has it done. The one who has it done or the one who does it. So weeds, ya Abdullah, haram. Those wigs are haram. Allah has cursed this woman. And Allah has cursed the woman who tattoos herself. And Allah has cursed the woman who has chipped her teeth. These are the mughayyirat khalq Allah, the ones who had changed Allah's creation. And another ayat, hadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, as we said, the mutanammisat. The mutanammis is the woman who takes this eyebrow and she plucks it to make it skinny, as many of the Arab women do, and many of the Asian women do. They take this eyebrow, this hair, and they pluck it and they make it real skinny and call it beautiful. Or she disconnects the hair here. It comes here, so they disconnect it. The Prophet ﷺ explained to us the reason why they're cursed. He said, Al-Mughayyirat lil-Husn. They changed the creation of Allah. So I ask you, Ya Akhi Billahi alayk, if the woman was cursed for taking this piece of hair off, what about the man who chops off his whole beard? He has more rights. He has more rights to be cursed. That's one reason. They changed the creation of Allah, as Shaitan promised that he would make them do. That's one. Number two, the Prophet ﷺ said, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ الْمُتَشَبِّهِينَ بِالرِّجَالِ الْمُتَشَبِّهِينَ بِالنِّسَاءِ وَمُتَشَبِّهَةٍ بِالرِّجَالِ. Allah has cursed the men who imitate the women and the women who imitate the men. Allah has created these men to be people who have this lihya. And so many hadith, ikhwan, of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ shows you can't cut your lihya. No more than 15 hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, أَطْلِقُ اللِّحَى, leave your beard, let it grow. أَرْخُ اللِّحَى, let your beard flow. أَرْجُو لِحَى, let your beard go down. The Prophet ﷺ said, أَكْرِمُ اللِّحَى, honor your beard. The man came to the Prophet ﷺ from over there, Majus, and he had his mustache like handlebars and no lihya. So the Prophet ﷺ said, Man amaraka bihada, who ordered you to do that? The man said, Rabbi amarani bihada, my Lord, Kisra. The Prophet ﷺ turned away from him, and then he said, Wa Rabbi amarani bihada, and my Lord ordered me to do this. And the Prophet said, Khaliful Yahud wal Majus, utrikul liha, be different from them Jews and those Majus, and leave your beards. So many hadith. So he changes the creation of Allah. He resembles the woman. Number three, he is following the tashbih of the Yahud and the Majus. Major sin. Major sin. And Imam Ahmed, rahimahullah ta'ala, in his book, Masail, Imam Ahmed, that was written by Abu Dawood, the Imam Abu Dawood from the Sunan, he asked him about it. He said that the cutting of the beard, halquha mubiqa min al-mubiqat wa kabira min al-kaba'ir. Cutting it is from the things that will destroy you. You know, there are things that the Prophet said, اجتنبوا سبع الموبقات, stay away from the 7 things that will destroy you. Ashir was sihr, and he went on. He said it's from the things that will destroy you, and it's from the major sins. From the major sins. Our mother Aisha, when she used to want to swear by Allah, you know how we say, Wallahi, wa Rabbil Kaaba, Sallahi, she used to say, وَالَّذِي زَيِّنَ الرِّجَالِ بِاللِّحَى, I swear by the one who beautified the men with their beards. That was her way of swearing by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now, ikhwan, again, the ghalib will always affect the maghlub. I heard one time, a brother, he told me, unfortunately, he said, he made up in the hadith, he made it up. He said, the Prophet said there are going to come a people who grow their beards. Very, they're the munafiqeen of this ummah. So therefore I cut my beard. يا شيخ يكفيك إنك كنت جاهل عن الحكم يكفيك هذا اسكت الآن لا تتقدم ولا تتجرأ على الله وديني بس تقول أنا كنت أجهل الحكم. Or the man says, Sayyid Sadiq said in Fiqh al-Sunnah, Yusuf Qardawi said in the Halal wa Haram, Sayyid Sadiq rahimahullah ta'ala. That book, Fiqh al-Sunnah, is a very important book of Fiqh al-Maqarin. If you want to know the fiqh without being on one madhab, it's a very good book. Yusuf Qardawi is a knowledgeable person. ولكن, if anyone goes against what the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we reject it. We reject it. So as a proof, don't say to us, Fiqh al-Sunnah. Don't say to us, the halal wa haram. But leave your lihya, ya Abdullah, and know that in al-Islam there is a diya for cutting a man's lihya. You know, if you knock a man's tooth out, if you break his nose, you bust his head, you break his finger, there's a diya, blood with. There's blood money attached, there's a diya you have to pay if you took a man and tied him down and cut off his lihya. So I find it strange that all of the a'immat al-arba, all of them are in consensus that you can't cut your lihya. And they talking about madhab. Okay. What about your madhab? But they follow what they want and they leave what they want. Wallahi, I've gone to masjids where the qibla is not even right in the masjid. It's facing other than the qibla. And every imam was of the opinion that one of the conditions of salah, you have to face the qibla. So why don't you face the qibla? Well, this is how our place is, and this is, you can't your old dog new tricks. Ma hakada ya Abdullah. So that issue really is very clear. The lihya is from the deen. Another proof is that it's a major sin is that the Prophet ﷺ said, عشرة من الخصائل عشرة خصائل من الفطرة. There are 10 things from the fitra. 10 things are from the fitra. That natural disposition that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you on. He mentioned leaving the lihya, trimming the beard, gargling the water in your mouth for wudu, using the miswak, and taking the water up your nose and spitting it out. That's fine. Cutting off your hair from under your arms, cleaning between your fingers and your toes in wudu. That's 7. Trimming your nails and your toenails. 8. Taking the hair off of your private part. 9. And the khitan. 10. So this fitra is wajib to be on this fitra. So you have to leave your lihya, ya Abdullah. Let us begin, ikhwan. Not to feel that I'm talking about you. You have to look at me right now as not a person who is singling you out. Wallahi, wallahi. And if that was my niyyah, Allahu hasibi. وَلَنَ تَسَلِّتْ مِنْهُ أَبَدًا. La. If that was my niyyah, that's not my niyyah. You have to look at me now as a vehicle in which I'm bringing you this truth, this ruling. But in saying that, we have to also make it clear that the Sahabas used to, if they made Hajj or Umrah, it's been authentically reported that Abdullah ibn Umar, that Abu Huraira, that Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu ta'ala anhum, if they wanted to make Umrah or Hajj, they would grab their lihya, and that which was hanging out, they would cut that which was hanging out. So you can't take that as proof to say, since they cut that, I can cut this, or I can shave that. لا هذا قياس ما فارق. that's making qiyas or analogy that's not permissible. Like saying milk is haram because of khamr. No, it's two different things totally. If anyone has anything other than that, we'll want to hear it, because we can go into the issue of usul fiqh, how the order al-amr yafid al-wujub illa an ya'ti sarif yusrifuhu min al-wujub wal-nahyu yufid al-tahrim illa an ya'ti al-insan bi sarifin yusrif hadha al-tahrim ila al-kirahiyya wa hayhat. So the next question, I think this is going to be the last question, inshallah. Recap the main points of the talk for the last 5 minutes. Jazakumullahu khairan. We said that if a person looks at the situation in order to have good character, we see that the Prophet, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, people have good character in one or two ways. The first way is that the man is born with good character, like the Prophet. And the other way is that the people have to work for this good character. And that's the majority of us. So those of us who want to work for this good character, we discussed 3 things that you can do in order to develop this good character. The first thing that the person does in acquiring this good character is that he has to believe that it can be acquired. And we show how, according to the Qur'an, the Sunnah, and the rationale, that this understanding, I've been doing this all my life so I can't change, is rejected in Al-Islam. And then the second thing that the person does in order to get good character is that he has to identify and categorize classify his bad points. And he does that by 3 ways we mentioned. By taking the shaykh, keeping in mind what the Prophet used to do with his companions, and what the stories of the shuyukh did in the Qur'an with the youngsters of the Qur'an who were with them. Also, we spoke about how the person, number 2, has to take a friend, and how we have to take a friend for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what Umar ibn al-Khattab said to Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman, was the Prophet naming me of the people from the munafiqeen. And also the last point number 3, it was that you look and you listen to what your enemies were saying. That was the second way to correct your character, to perfect it. The third way that we mentioned was that you force yourself to do the things that you against what your character already is, those bad traits, and then after forcing yourself, you suddenly become a person who is doing those things. They become part of your repertoire and the way you are as a Muslim. And we talked about the dual relationship between the heart and the limbs, the effect that the heart has on the limbs and the effect that the limbs have on the heart. And with that, inshallah, we bring this talk to a close. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى التوفيق والسداد. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.